Hey there, Luma. How about these super cute tiny butterflies? So easy and quick to make. It's Denise from lumahead.com, and I'm super happy to show you how to make these because you can add these to other fun projects. For instance, a wreath, or how about on a purse, a placemat, or even a cute vest. And of course, you can always add them to your favorite scarf or hat. Alright, to make these guys, you need a 24 peg loom, 6 yards of worsted weight yarn, your hook, scissors, and a yarn needle. So with a single strand of your worsted weight yarn, you're going to secure it to the anchor peg. I'm going to use a simple knot. You can use a slip knot if you're more comfortable, and we're going to drawstring cast on these 24 pegs. So take the working yarn and you're going to put it between the first and last peg, go behind peg 1, then you're going to bring it in front of 2, peg 2, behind 3, and you're going to continue in that zigzag manner until you've done all of your pegs. So going around the loom, in and out, in and out, in and out on every other peg. And once you get in the front, you're going to go again behind peg 1, and then take the working yarn, put it in front of peg 2, and the next few pegs, get your hook, and you're going to take that bottom loop over the top on the second peg because that peg had 2 loops. And then you're going to do the same thing with every peg that has 2 loops. You're going to take the bottom loop over the top and you're going to knit off. You're going to notice that in fact it's every other peg that you're knitting off. So you continue to do this until you get to your last peg, which will be peg 24, and you're done with your cast on. You're now ready for row 1, where you're going to knit 23 pegs. And I say 23 because peg 1 does not have a loop. And so you're going to take your working yarn and put it across pegs 1 and 2 and take the bottom loop over the top on peg 2 and knit off. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're using the flat version of the knit stitch. So just lay the working yarn over the existing loop and take the bottom loop over the top and knit off. You're going to continue using this flat version of the knit stitch until you get to that last peg. You're done with row 1, and now you're ready for rows 2 through 4, and you're going to E-wrap knit all 24 pegs. So to E-wrap, we're going to completely wrap the peg. So going from the back of the peg, you're going to come around and wrap the peg completely. Once you've wrapped all your pegs, well, you could do it that way, or you can wrap a few and then knit off. In my case, I'm going to wrap them all, and I'm going to then knit off first the last peg that I wrapped. So here's peg 24. I'm going to take the bottom loop over the top and I'm going to knit off. Again, I wrapped all of them. You guys can wrap a few at a time. Some of you don't like to wrap them off and then knit off. Either one, doesn't matter which one you choose. And after you do that second row, go ahead and take the knot off your anchor peg. You don't want to leave it there. It can cause some issues. So just take it off. Your yarn is secure. And now you're ready for the next row, where again you're going to wrap all your pegs. And when you're ready, knit them off. After you're done with all of your rows, then you're ready for cast off, and we're going to do a modified version of the basic bind off. This bind off is done over 2 pegs. So wrap pegs 1 and 2, and then you're going to take your hook and you're going to knit off those 2 pegs, 1 and 2. Then you take the loop off that second peg, bring it over to peg 1, tighten your stitch, and then knit that peg off. So you knit it off, and then you take the loop from that first peg and you move it over to the second one. and then tighten the loop. And now that first peg, you've done your bind off. Now you're ready to work with the next 2 pegs. And so I'm going to wrap that peg 1, my new pegs 1 and 2, but here's the modification. Normally for the bind off, you're only going to wrap 1, but in this modified version, we're going to wrap both pegs throughout this bind off. So take the loop off of 2, bring it onto 1, tighten it, knit off, take the loop off that first peg, move it on to the second, and now you've bind off 2 of your pegs. And we're going to continue to the next 2 where I'm going to wrap both pegs again, because this is a modified version of the basic bind off. So I wrap them both. I take the loop off of 2, I put it on my new peg 1, I knit off, take the loop off that peg and move it over, and now I did 3 bind offs. You need to do this for all 24 pegs, and again, you're doing this modified version where you're going to continue to wrap both pegs and then continue the process of the knit off, right? Simple enough. You guys got this. Here are the last 2. And what I'm going to do, you don't have to do this. This is an option. You see this loop right here that's kind of loose? That was the first one. I'm going to remount that loop onto that peg and then knit off. I do that because that loop ends up being a little loose. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap both pegs and continue with the bind off. Again, this is not necessary at all. I just don't like loose loops. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take that loop off that second peg, put it over to the first one, tighten, because this is the same process, knit off. You're ready to remove that last loop and your project is off. It's free from the loom now. Go ahead and cut the working yarn and try to leave a long tail. I don't know, about 5 inches. So cut your working yarn and then pull on that loop, that last loop, and pull it all the way out for the yarn to get out. Now you're done with the knitting. Go ahead and pull that drawstring, which is from the cast on. What you're trying to do is start closing that opening without closing it completely. Then take your working yarn and thread it through that working yarn and feed the yarn through those cast on loops. What you're trying to do is just secure your little circle so that you don't have a problem with it opening up again. Then you're going to take that needle, put it on the cast off, and what you want to do is neaten it up. So weave in your ends, close a circle so that it looks like a complete circle, feed in, weave in that end, and cut that excess yarn. And so it's a little short piece of yarn that will be left. You're going to use that to form the antennas. And in fact, you can cut the long thread from your cast off as well. So now you fed that strand through that circle, you tighten it at the tip, and it's going to form the top of the head of the butterfly. And now you have 2 threads that form the antenna. Cut them to the size you want your antennas, and now get the longer thread, and you're going to also feed it through that little circle, that little opening, and you're going to again create another knot on the other end. Try to make it so that you're left with a long piece of thread. So tie it nice and tight, and then weave in that shorter end. Hopefully you have one long end and one short end when you created that bottom tie, right? And now that one's disappeared, but you still have a long one. Go ahead and thread your needle, and what we're going to do now is shape the butterfly. So 2/3 of it is going to be like crunched up. So feed the yarn through that 2/3 bottom of the butterfly. You're going to feed that needle with the thread and then pull on it to shape the butterfly. You see that I'm going to go a few times. It's just to secure it, to make sure it doesn't come loose. And you can already see, you see clearly that the butterfly looks like a butterfly, right? So finish feeding that through one more time. I would say at least 2 or 3 times. And that's it. You're done. By the way, this project and many more are available in written form at lumahat.store. And guys, if you like the video, share it because that helps me a lot. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And by the way, if you hang tight, YouTube is going to show you a video they think you'll like, and so do I. Thank you, Luma. Until next time when you come back and loom with me.